Y'all, there has been so many cloudy days and I am missing the sunlight for the sake of my videos. I'm like, sunshine, come on, today's an exciting day. We're doing a first impression video and I want the sunshine to match the mood and the vibe here. Hello friends, happy Friday, so very excited that you're here. It's been a hot minute since we've done a first impression video, but today we are doing it and I'm really excited. Usually I try and ask you guys, hey, like which of these manga would you love to see in the first impression video? I wasn't planning to do that this time around because I felt like I sort of had like, these were ones I was really excited about, but then I read one of these manga that I'm going to be doing today or like reviewing today, and there was a lot of excitement, a lot of interest, and I was like, well, you know, let's do a poll and let's ask you guys, and you guys voted and I deeply appreciate it. I will try next time we have a first impression video, which I think will be next month, ask you guys which manga you would like to see a video of. I mean, obviously, always know that if it doesn't win in my poll, I'll be featuring it in the reading wrap-up video at the beginning of next month. But let's go ahead and talk about the 3 manga I'm going to be doing a first impression of. It feels a little bit awkward because this is probably the first time that I didn't have all shoujo or had like 2 out of 3. I have 2 out of 3 that are shonen or seinen, so that was an interesting mix-up for me. The first one is going to be Neighborhood Craftsmen. This actually comes out, I think it's July 22nd. Shout out to Yen Press, and Beneath the Tangle is a website I blog for. I was very thankful I was able to get an early review copy, and I'm excited to share thoughts with you guys on this. This manga actually won my poll and is why I'm doing a first impression today. The next one is one I was like so excited that I was able to continue the trend that I've done with this series, and that is Twisted-Wonderland, the book of Octavinelle. I think I said that right. I've been trying to practice, make sure, because I was like, I know the book, but saying it is a whole other thing. And last but not least, our josei manga is You Can't Live All on Your Own. I love this cover. It is beautiful. One of the prettiest book covers we have gotten recently if we're talking about just about josei manga, or maybe just in general for sure josei. I just really love it, and I love that spine with that yellow. It is beautiful. Very excited to review thoughts on all of these, but we're going to do it in the order that I read them. And I will say I will do my best to keep it spoiler free. Honestly, I feel like it's going to be the hardest for this first one, which is Neighborhood Craftsmen. And I do want to point out something before we even talk about the book. If this had been on your radar and you were very curious of why it had the higher price tag when it didn't show it was hardback online, even on Yen Press's website, I believe, and everybody was like, why is it so expensive? It actually is hardback and it is very nice. It does not have a pretty design like I was sort of hoping like on the actual cover. Now it does have it on the spine, but it is a very beautiful blue indigo color. So I just wanted to say that now, and I do feel like with the more expensive price tag that it very much is worth it. If you're not familiar with this manga, because honestly I was not originally, I got it because my friend Phantom hyped me up on it. Her excitement for this series really rubbed off on me, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. I also believe my friend Alex was another person too that was really excited for this. So this is, it says right here like in the subtitle that it's stories from Kanada's Gokura Cho, and I feel like this is more of a short story collection of sorts, because each chapter, except for the last 3, which are all connected, but all the other chapters don't have the same main character, the same protagonist. All of these characters live in this city. I think it was in the city of Edo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I do apologize if I'm saying that really wrong. This is more of a historical manga in this city during this time era. We are exploring different lives of different craftsmen as they make different products. For example, here we have somebody who's making a barrel. There's somebody who makes a katana. There is someone who works on doing the plaster of a building. And each story, I feel like honestly could be read by itself. You don't need any like prior knowledge based off of the previous chapter or any just prior knowledge about any of these things, because one chapter centered around, he was a craftsman. I forget what his actual, a tatami weaver, and I knew nothing about those kind of mats, and that was a very interesting chapter for me and seeing how this craftsman worked. This is a manga that really blew my mind, honestly. This is one that when I started reading, like from from the very first page, I believe it is, like outside of like the table of contents and like, you know, the introduction page, you are already seeing the insane amount of detail. I was so conscious of how slow I was reading this because especially the first 2 chapters, there are several pages that have no words at all. I was just like, I don't want to rush reading this. I want to soak in all of these details because one thing that was like standing out to me, like here's another example. One thing that was really standing out to me when I was reading is there are so many different textures and it felt like I could reach out, touch the page and feel that actual texture. There is a story that centers around someone who makes, was it clothes? I know she worked with indigo and I think they call an indigo dyer. And when her hands are dyed blue, I feel like I could just reach out and touch her hands and have blue on my own. It was a really incredible and amazing experience that I feel for me, like here's another really good page. I think this chapter here was actually my favorite. This is the second one. It feels like you can feel the heat. And as you can see, there are no words at all on this page, but I didn't want to rush the reading experience because I feel like this is a manga that you could come back to in the future and be completely blown away by details that you missed the very first time. I felt like I was spending a lot of time on these pages because again, I didn't want to miss anything. And honestly, it was just such a feast for the eyes. It was beautiful and like you can really feel like, look at this, look at the water, look how it drips and how you can just feel how it is just rippling. Like it's amazing. It is amazing. And I'm sure there's other manga out there that have like really incredible things, but it just, for me, this was one of a kind reading experience. It felt like I have not experienced this with any other manga. Shoujo say typically isn't like that, and that's not a bash because I love it deeply, but it was very engaging to read just where I didn't need to see the words to help the story flow on. I could see exactly what's happening and how she is just creating for this particular scene of how she's making this katana. Like, look at this insane detail. Like, you can feel the process. You can see the process of this, you know, forging it in the water and strengthening the metal. Mind-blowing. And that was not even just this story. This literally was for every single one. And I was truly amazed at that. Like, I just, and also I love how the resolution came about because there's always some kind of, I wouldn't say issue with each story, but there is some kind of like problem. For this one, they find out about a samurai who had cut somebody down and what this master, this not swordsman, but this craftsman, what are they going to do? In another story that we find out that this man has basically hired this company to build him a storehouse and they need to plaster it. But what exactly are they going to do to make the plaster correctly? What color are they going to use? It was just really mind-boggling to me of how this creator brought each and every story to life. I mean, the first chapter, the first 2 aren't that long. Like the first chapter starts on page 5 and the second chapter starts on page 19 and the other ones are a little bit longer, but it was really amazing to see an era that I don't know anything about. I mean, yes, I don't know much about, but really seeing these craftsmen pursue their passions. And even though like this story particularly was really interesting because the main character questions of like, maybe I want to do something else. And I enjoyed seeing that aspect as well because with the previous 2 stories or previous 3, you can definitely see this passion that these craftsmen have. But to doubt their craft and their hobby / passion, their job was different. And I liked though how there was a resolution at the end and how that protagonist main character came back to just love and adore their passion. It was very, very interesting. I sort of feel when it came to the final 3 chapters of this volume, it's not says it's a volume 1, so it's not like the final. I found it very interesting of how this story was woven together because it was a lot more text heavy. Felt like there was more of a story that was involved. And one thing I want to mention that I thought was really cool about the each story except for the last one that has the 3 chapters combined, and then one other one, each craftsman centered around a woman. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Like, the person that was making the sword was a woman, and I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing. But for the final one, I love how we sort of had dual perspectives, or dual characters, or duo characters, I guess I should say. And it was very, very engaging because both of these characters came from 2 very different backgrounds, had 2 different ideas of ways of going about things, of making this plaster. I felt on the edge of my seat because you can sense tension that's coming from the inside of like their hearts, of how, at least for one character, of how they're going to go about this, and how you can feel the pressure and the stress that's on them. But then you have things coming from the team that's working and doing the plastering, and then you have like the community's expectations, you have the buyer's expectations, and it was very fascinating in that sense, outside of just them doing this craftsmanship, of how they were going to handle these situations, because again, they're very different. And this character, I really, really liked her and how she grew over these chapters. Now, the male lead for this set of story, he was my favorite. I loved his attitude, how he went about things, and I just want to give a heads up that I do feel for this particular story that it had some very intense bullying. It was not graphic, but it was very disturbing, and I felt some feelings when there was a certain situation that unfolds and how a character wanted to handle it, but how an opposing character was like, no, 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 you will not do that. It was very, very gripping in that sense, and every story was, but I think I just liked for that one of how, and look at this, look at this. You can feel the, I don't know if feel's the right word to use, but you can definitely see the dirt falling from his hands. Like, is that not incredible? Like, that is incredible. That is incredible. So I really loved each story, the progression of it, seeing them work, and again, going back to that detail. I don't know if you can see it, but look at this. Look how you can see everything in that mat. This page isn't a favorite for me by any means. Like, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I feel it is a beautiful example of what this manga contains. That when you're checking out this manga, yes, I feel it is a great manga to see the beauty of Craftsmen, the things that they did during that era, and even now, I mean, just it feels very special for this to be more of a historical manga and see like back in time, so to speak, because yeah, if I were to buy a barrel, I would take it for granted of how that barrel was made. I mean, we have a lot of machines that make things now, so there felt like there was this special beauty that was put into this time capsule in the sense of the form of this manga, where it's just, you can slow down with it and see how much time is going into everything that they're making. For the last story, you really felt the sense of time as it was progressing due to how the hair was growing on certain characters, and that was a very interesting touch. So if you want to learn about these different crafts, I think this is a great one. I think it's a great one that truly highlights the beauty of what these people did and made these products. It was truly very incredible. But I would say if you want a very richly detailed manga, this manga is it. The shading here, I think is on the opposite page, was just really incredible, and you just want to be shown. You don't want to be told anything. You don't necessarily want to read any words, which words aren't necessarily bad, but there is a very beautiful charm to this collection. Like, look at this. Look at that. I mean, every shape has a shade. Every shape here, you can see just everything. I mean, there's not anything that doesn't feel real or lifelike. I mean, I truly, again, I think I said earlier that I could come back to this manga and there's going to be a detail that I missed the first time. I don't know what more I could say except for I'm so glad I gave this manga a chance. It well exceeded any expectations I had. I never expected to. It arrived, I think it was on Monday, and then within 10 minutes I was like, you know, I'm just going to try it out, and sort of tried it on a whim because I just really didn't expect to super love it, but I was completely blown away. Again, I'm very thankful I gave it a chance and would definitely highly recommend it. I mean, I wish I could show some of the other pages that had this really really incredible art. Look at her hair, like the way it's drawn, and it was amazing. It was truly a truly amazing read. So yeah, I would definitely highly recommend this. I feel like this is the most surprising read I've read this year that completely just blew my mind of how much I loved it, and would just, again, highly recommend checking this out. Next up is Twisted-Wonderland, and I'm so excited to feature this. Now, I'm gonna, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm gonna do my best to keep it spoiler free, but I definitely feel, as I felt with the Savannah Claw manga, that you probably need to play the game first. You need to have some experience with these characters in order to fully appreciate that. I guess with that said, just keep that in mind, because there are some things that I feel may accidentally slip my mind of like, hey, that hasn't really been revealed yet, but it has been if you've played the entire game or read the previous manga. So this manga centers around a character I'll show him in a minute. His name is Yu. He works with his dad in Japan. They own a restaurant. He needs to go make a delivery for his dad. He goes out into an alley because he's like, oh, this is a shortcut to where I need to go. And he basically gets isekai'd to Twisted-Wonderland, to put it in the simplest terms. Problem is everybody at Night Raven Academy here has magical abilities, but Yu does not. But the gracious head mage is like, I will let you stay, but you're gonna act sort of like a janitor. And he teams up, Yu does, with a character who's not a cat, but looks like a cat. Teams up with him. His name is Grim, and Grim does have magic. And so they are the ramshackle duo who works around the academy. Well, things are coming out that a study guide has been given to multiple students, which is not a bad thing. Exams are here, people need to study. But the thing is we don't know right away until we start seeing some things grow off the top of people's heads that they made a deal, a contract with this guy here, Azul, in that if they were to get into the top 50 ranked best scores, that they would be like scotch-free. They'd be good. They did great. But if they did not get in the top 50 of the best highest scores, they would be at Azul's whim to do anything that he asked them to do. They cannot deny him for any reason because they signed this contract, and within this contract they also gave him something of special value to them, which seems for a lot of students it was their magical powers. So there's a lot of problems coming out of this, even though technically Azul didn't break any rules. He was the one that gave out the study guides, but the head mage comes to you and is like, hey, I need you to look into this because we can't have students without magic, but since Azul didn't break the rules, I technically can't step in and do anything. So unfolds this volume where we see you looking into Azul, studying if there's anything they can do to find out of how to free these students who have been trapped by Azul because they signed this contract. And I will just say they look like this. This is what they have growing off of their heads, and they look so funny. So I love this. 10 out of 10. It was perfect in every single way. I have no complaints. I have definitely a special bias towards this, I guess you would say, these characters that are going to be centered around in this series, because I have taken multiple quizzes that if I was in the Twisted-Wonderland series or the manga, the world, that I would be in this dorm. It's interesting for me to see a character, Yu, because he is so relatable. But let me rewind. Look at him. Look how cute he is. I love seeing some good body representation here. And what I mean is, I've talked about in the past, I actually talked about it in my recent reading wrap-up video. It seems really rare to get chubby characters in English printed manga or English translated manga that has good representation, where it doesn't feel exaggerated. It doesn't feel like it's just a humor aspect. Yu really loves food, and I love how he has this great respect for it, because like there was a scene where Grim's like gonna run off and he's like, no, you need to show gratitude. And Yu even mentions later on that he loves eating in moderation. And I felt like there was just something so special about his character that deeply made me happy. I mean, he has the most beautiful smiles. He has the biggest heart for these characters, and wanting to help them. Like, we really see when he finds out what Azul is doing, that he wants to step in, and he's like, Azul, what you're doing is wrong. You're working them to the bone, and it's just not right. Though when things are presented, I love how this volume ended, of how he's like, I feel like I have just gotten roped into something that's over my head, despite that he really, really wants to help other people. So I really love how relatable he is. I honestly feel like he has a little bit of gullibleness to him. I too have the same thing, and I think that's why this Yu so far has been my favorite and brings me so much joy when I see him, because I just love how he interacts with these other characters that are my fave, like the Leech twins here. This one one is Floyd, and this is Jade, who is in my top 5 best boys. Let me just tell you, when you play the game, you know they're pretty unhinged. You know that they can be pretty scary, but this manga shined at making them very, very scary. I was like, that looks pretty freaky, but here's the thing. Something that surprised me when reading this is seeing them so scary. Like, I was squealing, smiling the entire time I read this, so much so I could really feel my face hurting, because I was just like, anytime that they looked unhinged, anytime they had a little bit of fear going, I was all on board. I was all on it, because I really feel like the manga did make them scarier, and you really just get this, people have joked that they are like sort of a underwater mafia. Yes, they do have these mafia vibes that really, really shine through. I'm trying to find this one image where it's supposed to be Floyd and Jade, and they have these shadowy figures in replacement for where they're at, because I felt like it just spoke so much about who they are and what they do. They are not afraid to take out other students. If Azul says, hey, you need to go take them out, they're like, okay, yay, let's go have some fun. And that's what they do. That's what they do. But why I like Jade so much is because he comes across very, very polite. Apparently I have a soft spot for those kind of characters who hide their real intentions under this nice smile and, you know, just seem really kind and caring, which Jade definitely can be. But yeah, like he says here, I hope they would entertain us a little more. What a shame. And it's like, Jade, buddy, you know, Jade, you know, and then, yeah, and then you have Floyd over here, who is more carefree, gets bored very easily, just wants to have fun and just be able to squeeze people. He's like, what a bunch of wimps. It's no fun in squeezing them. And so seeing these moments where they are just stirring fear in other characters' hearts and random students, or even students we know, because you definitely has a moment where he is just terrified. And I feel like in reality that if I ever faced Floyd like this, yeah, I would be pretty terrified as well. But I just feel like the fear that's supposed to be in the game, which we do see of, I feel like was just heightened to another level in the manga and had such a really, really good time. Like, it was great. It was great. Again, I feel bad for saying that because, you know, I shouldn't probably be saying that. But since they're some of my favorite characters, I love seeing them shine. And Azul, oh my goodness, this manga, hands down, made him look like a king. I loved. Here's the shadows that I was talking about. See, so you have Jade and Floyd, but they're just black shadows to really create that fear there. And Azul just acting like he a king. Everything he did was just perfect. Like, I love how well this volume was written. I love how exceptionally drawn everything was and bringing these characters to life, especially Azul, since it's going to be focusing on him, leading up to him overblotting at a later point where basically he becomes a really, really, really bad guy. Like, seeing the foundation and everything building up has been wonderful. It has left me so happy, and I love all the panels with everybody. Now, I have to do mention that my boy Jack, who is definitely one of my favorite characters. He's in like the top 3, top 4 if we combined Ortho and Idia as one. And speaking of Idia, hold on. Only an Idia fan who is right here would get so excited and squeal about seeing his eye bags represented. I was like, only an Idia fan would get it, would know, but here we could show you Jack. So Jack's in here and I love to see him. I do feel like when it comes to Jack in the Savannah Claw manga, I loved how he was drawn a lot here. I still like how he was drawn in this manga, but he just hits a little bit different, but he's still his precious Tundra self. And the funny thing is you definitely knows how to manipulate him, because Jack's like, why would I help these dummies? Like, they had the chance to show others how capable they are if they didn't get roped in with Azul and doing this whole contract thing, but yet he's like, they're idiots, and that's what they did. And so he doesn't really want to help them, but Yu's like, oh, okay, I get it if you might be a little bit afraid of trying to help them, which was like the triggering moment for Jack, and him be like, no, I'm not afraid, come on, let's go do this. He's like, but I need to be back home by 10 so I can go to sleep. So that was great, and I love seeing little moments where he gets really excited and you see how capable he is. Like, he has such a big heart, and I am excited to see all of the amazing things he's going to be doing with you. And one thing I did mention in the previous review, or in my video about Savannah Claw, is I felt that the you in this manga, because as different artists, I felt they were sort sort of pushed to the side a little bit, and I missed having that because the female you in this one is awesome as well. But I felt like you in this manga really was part of the main gang, and I was so excited to see that. Like, he felt like he was just right at home, despite that he doesn't have any magical powers or anything. And look at Ace and Deuce. Oh, I felt, and even Crib, I felt so bad for them. Like, they were just being worked so hard. Everything about this was absolute perfection. I mean, literally, I have nothing bad to say about it. I was really enjoying my time seeing the scenes from the game come to life on page. If you are a fan of Twisted-Wonderland, I really think, especially of this part of the series, the story, I really think that you're going to enjoy it. I feel like this you really complements the unhingedness here of everything that is happening with Jade and Floyd, because they really are unhinged, and I'm excited to see more of that. One last thing, and then I'll stop rambling because I really feel like I'm rambling here, is since you did work at a restaurant before he was taken to Twisted-Wonderland Night Raven Academy, he cooks some amazing dishes. There were many times when reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm really hungry. Seeing these delicious spreads, seeing, like, there was a scene, is that the beginning, where he makes rice balls. Actually, I think that was earlier that it wasn't this one, but he's over here making these, and earlier, or later on, excuse me, he made rice balls, and just the way he eats them, the way they look so delicious, I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I love this. This was easily my favorite read out of all three, though I feel like that is hard to say with how much I did enjoy Neighborhood Craftsmen. But man, just seeing my favorite characters, the way that they were drawn, and again, the way everything was written, it was so compelling, and I just had such a great time as a Twisted-Wonderland fan. Again, I think if you don't play Twisted-Wonderland, you could definitely still read this, but I do feel like there are several things that will be missed, and I don't feel like you'll have that same attachment with these characters. But as a Twisted-Wonderland fan, I had to highlight and spotlight these characters, and I honestly cannot wait for the second book to release, or second volume. I definitely feel out of the three we have thus far, this is my favorite. I love it so much. It was very good and would highly recommend. For my last read that I'm going to be featuring is You Can't Live All on Your Own, which is a josei manga, and I'm really excited to talk about this one. This story centers around 4 different young women who live together in this apartment of sorts, and they each have very different things happening on in their lives. Forgive me, I cannot remember their names for the life of me. I was trying to look at them, and I was like, I know each woman, but I was like, I can't remember her name. But you have this young woman here who I feel like was sort of more of the focus this volume. She is at work, like she works a lot. People ask her like, hey, could you do this? Because she's single, she's not married, because so-and-so's married and they have to go, like, say, pick up their kid from school because they're sick or something. And she starts questioning, is how my life is right now, is it okay? Because one of the young ladies, this young lady here, is in a relationship with somebody, and she wants to get married to her boyfriend, and she's hoping that their relationship will go even further. And that's what leads to this female lead questioning, should I start looking for romance? Is there happiness there? She doesn't necessarily want to get married, but she's like, maybe there's something to it, and maybe I need to start thinking about it. This young woman here she works from home, and I feel like, as I think one of the characters said, she is definitely like the mama hen of all the characters. And then this character here is very set on going up the ladder at her job. She is all about her work, lives for work more or less, is always working. And so all of these young women have, again, different things happening in their lives, different passions, different lifestyles, but yet here they are living together, doing the best they can and supporting one another. Now, I'm going to admit, before I fully dive into my review, I did like reading this, but I was slightly disappointed. I feel like when I first heard about this, that it was pitched as a non-romantic josei manga. I don't feel that is fully true, and because I had that in my mind, I do feel like my expectations were a little bit let down, just in the sense because I don't think I've really fully shared, but this lady here, she's wondering if romance could bring her happiness, and so she does go into sign up for a matchmaking app and starts looking for romance. Now, I knew about this female lead this young woman, that she did have a relationship with a boyfriend, so that wasn't a surprise for me, but based off of being told this is a non-romantic story, I think I was expecting that there'd be a lot more time with all 4 young women having these shenanigans at their apartment, seeing more into how they live together. Though it's not fully accurate. Does that happen? Yes. And I actually really, really enjoyed it. Like, one thing I was really surprised by is that I thought when starting this, I was like, there'll probably be just one woman that I'm really attached to and relate to. No, I felt a relatability with all four of these different women because they're coming from different walks of life. Again, they're in different areas with different challenges and struggling with different things. That was like, man, that's really relatable. Or seeing another character have these certain struggles is like, man, yeah, I've been there too. So I loved how there wasn't just one female character that I was all in for, in the sense, like, because I would compare this series to Play It Cool Guys, but without the humor aspect. Because with Play It Cool Guys, Hayate, that is my best boy right there. I love him. I mean, I love the other guys too, don't get me wrong, and Shun, he would be number 2, but Hayate is my favorite. So I sort of felt like I would have, again, that same issue with here, with just latching onto one woman, when no, I loved all of them equally, and that was a very unique experience for me and made me very excited to feel that way. And again, it's not like Play It Cool Guys with the humor aspect, but I do feel like the slice of life vibes are very much there. I loved how easygoing and relaxing this volume was. The art style just makes it feel, I don't know if cozy is the right word, but the art style really is everything. It creates this relaxing atmosphere while everybody looks very cute. Like, I felt like this was sort of, though this panel was pretty funny. I honestly feel like this is a manga that you could just, after a long day, come and reread this, or read this or reread this, and just unwind. It is a very comforting story, I feel like, and it doesn't have a lot of investment in the sense of you don't need to be really aware of each plot that's happening for each woman. Like, no, like, you can be invested in general in all of these women without having to keep up with certain threads and like, oh man, did I forget that? Or was that even a thing at an earlier moment? No, everything blended so smoothly together, so flawlessly, I would even say. And truly loved how all these women, they really encourage each other. I think it was the one that's the workaholic, where she was like saying that she had a really bad day because there was some misogyny that was happening, and I was like, girl, show up that dude, man. I can't stand him already. But here it is. She says, even when I'm frustrated, I can come home to you all and some warm food. That and your guys' compliments are what keep me going. And I honestly feel like that could summarize this entire volume. I definitely would love to get the second volume because this just felt like a feel-good story to me, and I felt invested in every single woman's story, I guess you would say, of seeing what's going to happen, because each of them have these goals, and I want to see how they're going to reach those goals and just see them reach those goals. Even if I was a little bit disappointed initially, because when I reread over it a little bit today before filming, I didn't feel the same, and I think it's just because I knew what to expect. But even in the whole matchmaking thing, I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to unfold. But I do love how with this matchmaking that she's not aiming necessarily to get married. Like, that's not the, if she gets married, that's great. And I love to, I will just say that the person that she does meet, that there's open communication, that was fantastic. I felt the matchmaking was different compared to when I read I'll Forget You Starting Today Senpai, which originally was going to be one of the manga that I featured today. So the matchmaking was different from this one. And I will say, I feel like out of all four women, I most relate to her because there was a little bit, I feel like she had the least amount of time, but from what we did see her on page, that again, she does live out that Mama Hen vibe very strongly. She has a thing for ordering online, and she's like, I should probably calm down because she's like, I have no savings. But she's like, I saw this really delicious thing that I wanted to try online, so I had to get it, because she had a good job, but she ended up leaving it because of a certain reason, as I'll say. She ended up leaving it, and now she works from home, and so she really takes joy in small moments of like being able to stop and fully drink, like, say, her tea without having to worry about going to the next meeting. And the young woman who's a workaholic, I felt she was relatable in the sense of she's always wanting to learn and grow. She's going to like these, I think there were different seminars, and she doesn't have to even be there, but she's like, I feel like this would help me on the project that I'm working on. And I was like, man, yes, I love that. And the young girl that is like obsessed with her boyfriend, I love how happy and upbeat she was and how she's really trying hard to keep this positive attitude when she finds out things were not quite what she thought it was going to be or what it is. So I really enjoyed this. Again, again, I'm excited to see what unfolds. The cover is definitely a cover love kind of buy. It is so cute. And I saw the next volume is blue, like a light blue. I think it's a great manga to read if you want something that's focused on different women and women that you could relate to, again, with any, regardless if your past are the same, the lifestyles or the decisions that maybe these characters make in light of what you would do. I feel like there's just something very special about this manga, and I feel like many people are going to feel very seen, making this one an encouraging one to pick up, because I really didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and maybe that sounds really bad. And I guess I should say, in this sense, with the relatability that I know I keep mentioning, but the softness that this manga had and on me, and how I just really felt myself relaxing when reading. I felt myself maybe not smiling the same way I was at Twisted-Wonderland to the point where my face was hurting, but these soft smiles that I was like, yeah, I see this, and I'm glad I'm not alone in this struggle or celebrating this joy and seeing how beautiful it is to have other people supporting you, even when you're not really sure what you want to do, or people are talking things about how you do things in your life. Like having those people who love you at your best and at your worst, and you know that they're there for you, is a special and beautiful thing. And this manga definitely highlights, explores that, and that's why I'm looking forward to getting volume 2 to see how that will be explored. Especially now, I realize I don't feel like this is a traditional romantic story, where I don't feel like that's ever going to be the focus, because at the end of the day, when they all come back together at the house, yeah, they're together, they're sharing about their day, and they're encouraging one another, they're giving advice to one another. It's a very calming thing to see unfold, and I hope that it stays that way, where it doesn't shift to the romance, because I don't want that. I genuinely don't. Maybe that sounds really bad. I mean, I want this girl to find happiness, but that's also what she's questioning of, does she need romance to be happy? I thought of several friends when I was reading that. I was like, man, if they were just to read this, they'd be like, man, that is me. And I always feel like that's a powerful thing when you can see yourself represented in fiction. And what a wonderful thing that I found myself seeing in all 4 of these women. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. If you want mainly an all-female cast, you want something that's very calm and cute and rewarding in the sense of seeing these friendships just continue to strengthen, thrive, and shine. Hopefully I did that manga justice, because it's very similar of Neighborhood Craftsmen in that it's very slice of life. So the stories aren't all, or the chapters aren't necessarily all connected to one another. It was great. And as you can see, I loved all of these manga, and I'm very excited that I gave 2 of them a chance, because I knew I loved Twisted-Wonderland manga. I had no doubts there. But you know, the other 2 that I gave them a chance. And I would love to hear from you, friends. Which of these manga most are you interested in? Have you read them or hoping to read them soon? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!